Secret Agent Man. Secret Agent Man. Hello and welcome to the next episode of Matt and Todd Go to the Movies with special guests Tim Davis and Marie. This is the podcast where all four of us went and saw a movie at our local Regal Cinema Theater. And now we're going to talk about it in Matt's Honda Pilot in the parking structure right next to the movie theater. Hopefully with not much noise going around. We're going to talk about such things as, should you see this movie? Should you not see this movie? Should you snack during it? Do you need to pay attention? Can you bring kids? Should you bring a date? Should you go by yourself? We're going to try to touch on a lot of things and do our best, which is our commitment to you, the listener. I am Todd Dover.
And I'm Matt Malloy, and yes, we're going to do our best to hold to our core values of no spoilers and telling you whether you should see a movie or not. We saw the movie Argylle tonight at a little bit of a late showing time for us, so it's a little bit late as we're doing the podcast. But we're here, we're doing it, and we're going to get through it. So, Tim, tell us who's in this fine flick.
There's quite the list in this one, I would say. Starting off, we've got Henry Cavill, most known as Superman, but also The Witcher, and he's been in various movies over the years. He's Agent Argylle in this, the title character. We've got John Cena.
I don't think you're supposed to reveal that, Tim.
You mean the thing that's all over the trailer?
Oh, okay.
John Cena is in this as like the second in command, I guess you could say. And we've got Bryce Dallas Howard, who is playing the author of the Argylle books. Sam Rockwell shows up as a real-life spy. He's been in tons of stuff over the years. Bryan Cranston shows up as the villain running some agency. And he's, of course, famous for mostly Malcolm in the Middle, the sitcom from over the years, but he's been in lots of other but he's been in Godzilla.
I appreciate that.
I would say that's his biggest mainstream role. In the last few years, yes. Why are you guys laughing?
Mm-hmm.
And then we've got Samuel L. Jackson, who's been in, I think, every Matthew Vaughn movie as the director of this.
He's a mainstay.
And we have Catherine O'Hara shows up. She's the, part. What was that comedy troupe she's part of with Eugene Levy and all them? I forget what their name is, but
Schitt's
I don't
Creek.
know.
And Schitt's Creek too. Yeah, but that same acting crew. They do a lot of stuff together. And she's also the mom in Home Alone. And then we've got the singer Dua Lipa shows up for a bit. And Ariana DeBose, who most recently was the lead voice of the Disney movie Wish, and she's also a singer and been in other stuff. I'd say that's pretty much all the big names, wouldn't you agree?
I would agree.
Agreed.
And the director is Matthew Vaughn, who's most famous for probably the Kingsman movies, and he also did X-Men First Class, and he was the Kick-Ass movies too, wasn't he?
Yes.
Yeah, so there you go.
So there you have it. Well, it's a little, what's this movie about? It's a little hard to say because there's a lot of secrets that are kept and revealed throughout
A lot
the
of
movie.
twisty turns.
Many twisty turns.
It's a spy movie.
But here's what I'll say about this movie. This movie is about a woman who is an author, and she writes a series of books about Agent Argylle. And so then when she finds out that there might be some connection between what she's writing and what has happened in real life, or what is happening in real life, there might be a real Agent Argylle. In fact, that they make a big deal out of that in the trailer, as like, who's the real Agent Argylle? So I won't reveal that, but there's sort of this book character versus real life spy character thing that's going on throughout the movie, and basically we go on a journey following this author woman who is taken in by different spies at different times, and really, what else can you say about that other than that it happened, and eventually all is revealed, but we won't reveal it on this podcast. We'll just say she goes on a long adventure, and at the end, everything is revealed, and and there's a major ecological disaster at the end of this movie. So, that's what I'm going to say about that. Todd, are you wearing your Argylle socks tonight? And how do you feel about this movie?
Well, I'll be brutally honest. Right now, I'm feeling pretty torn. I like Matthew Vaughn movies. They are typically up my alley, and there's a lot that I liked about this movie. Even though I guessed one of the biggest twisty turns right out of the gate of this movie, there was still some more to keep me like in it, and even guessing it, like, it didn't take me out of the movie, but I feel like this is the most ungrounded. As we get towards the end of this movie, it's the most ungrounded Matthew Vaughn action sequences I've ever seen.
Unfiltered, even.
Yeah, and they at times they were painful for me to watch, like, and which is sad because I like the action movies that Matthew Vaughn does. They're typically stylistic and they're typically very pleasing to the eye. And I'm not saying these weren't, but there's specifically two action scenes at the end of the movie that made it difficult for me, and all leading up to the economical disaster. But otherwise, I dug the plot of this movie. I dug the style of it. Of as everything starts to unfold, we get a lot of hallucinations from the author Bryce, and the stylistic scenes of that were very cool to me, and I think a lot of the acting was well done. I am wishy-washy about how I feel about Bryce, and I felt like her acting was very good in this movie, but I could not get behind most of the physical acting she was trying to do. For me, at times it was distracting. Like, I was like, oh, that looks real bad, because they would cut between her and a double, and her and like the person who actually knows what they're doing, and it didn't match up to me. So that was kind of hard for me. But I think there's a lot of I mean it when I say I'm torn. There's good in this movie that I really liked, and there's stuff that just made me roll my eyes constantly. And it's hard to talk about each one without giving up the twisty turns, and we don't do that here because, for this movie specifically, I think it's the twisty turns that are going to keep you in it. I will say that this movie gets me excited for the future because there's stuff that's happening. There's not an end credits thing. There's kind of like a mid or early credits thing that gets you a little bit excited about what's happening and what could be the future of this and stuff like that. So I dug that. I would like to see more of these silent movies, but someone needs to work with Matthew Vaughn to rein in some of his craziness and say, okay, that might look stylistic, but it is actually kind of dumb. So let's maybe rework it. So, I would say if you were a fan of Kingsman, Kick-Ass, like any other famous Matthew Vaughn movie, then I would say you're going to get a lot of what you've already seen. And you're going to get, like I said, a ton more twisty turns. So that makes it interesting. So go see this movie. I would say stylistically, because of the scenes you're given, like if you're going to see this movie, if you have an inkling to see this movie, you should probably see it in theaters, because I think it was good to see it on a big screen, even though the screens that we see our movies on now are so faded that it's distracting at times. You can see the screens falling apart. I do think Matthew Vaughn is such a stylistic director that his stuff does not transfer down the TV very easily. So if you were already a person who liked a lot of the movies coming before, then absolutely go see this movie. If you're a person, and I've mentioned some movies, like Kingsman and Kick-Ass and one of the X-Men movies or whatever. If you're like, I didn't see any of those, I have no interest, then this is not a movie for you. Like, if you've seen those movies and you're like, I did not like them, then this is definitely not a movie for you. Which you probably know that already, so you don't need me telling you not to go. So I would give this movie a thumbs up to go see if it's anywhere near your wheelhouse. If it's obviously not, then I'm not going to tell you to go see this movie. There are movies that we see that are so good that I'm like, maybe this kind of movie isn't up your alley, but it's that good that you need to go see it. I can't say that about this movie, which is sad to me. But if you were already thinking about it, then probably follow through and go see it. If you liked previous movies by his, then definitely go see it. But I can't give it the clear all. Also, I feel like maybe not a big drawback from this movie is that most of the time the movies that he does are rated R, and there's almost like a stylistic gore that he does sometimes in his fight scenes that I felt was slightly missing from this movie. I would have liked to see, but you know, you got to make it accessible to everyone too. So I get it, but go see it if you already were thinking about it. Don't go see it if it's not up your wheelhouse. If it's not up your alley, because I can't justify that. So, Marie, how'd you feel about this movie?
Well, I don't know anything about Matthew Vaughn, so I got nothing to say about that in comparison. Just like I got nothing to say about that.
Sure.
Actually, I had a good time with this movie, and, you know, I'm the surface dweller here of the group. I don't know all the things about all the movies. So I just had a good time. It was entertaining. I liked the plot. I liked the twisty turnies. I would not have categorized this as an action flick. But apparently there's some history there that you guys know about that I don't. And I thought some of the fight scenes were over the top. Although I was happy to not have the gore that you referenced because I don't like gore. But I like adventure. And I like a little mystery. And I like try to figure out what's going on. And I think you and I probably figured out the same thing in the beginning, one of the big plot twists.
Yeah, I texted Matt.
Oh.
Like,
you didn't text me?
5 minutes into the movie. Because I texted him right before.
I'm sitting between the two of you,
I know.
and you're texting each other.
What if you
I
hadn't gotten there?
I texted him right before the movie started to say, this is my thought of what the twisty turn is. And then 5 minutes into the movie, I texted him and I was like, no, it's this. And then I was right. So,
And I didn't figure it out, so I'm glad I didn't read your text until after the movie.
I don't know. We'll have to talk afterwards
I
and
was
see.
with you, Matt. I had not called that.
I had a glimmer of something, and I went, oh yeah, there it is.
and I know we'll talk about it afterwards.
Yeah, we'll talk about
I
it.
know the exact line that was said that made me go, yep.
Okay.
Anyway,
Yes.
I had a good time. I thought it was a little long. I thought a couple of the fight scenes at the end were a little ridiculous, and I felt like some of it was inconsistent. As far when you were talking about fight scenes, that they were one way kind of in the beginning, the middle of the movie, and then different towards the end, and that was a little bit annoying. But I thought the story was interesting. And it was fun. It was Thursday night. I've had a long week. I laughed. And I rolled my eyes. And I was entertained. And that's what I like.
That's what you want.
It's not going to win any awards.
Nope.
But it was fun.
Fair enough. I like it. Tim?
Yeah, I definitely agree. Matthew Vaughn is a stylistic director, and if you haven't seen his movies before, I don't know if this is the best introduction I would tell people that. This is him at his most unfiltered. But then again, that might bring somebody in and say, wow, if this is his style, I'll go see more of his stuff. He's, like you said, the visuals and the fight scenes and all that are very over the top and very exaggerated. And yet that's part of the fun of his movies, in my opinion. And he gets a lot of fun actors to show up and commit to the bit. And I thought everybody in this was great. I thought a lot of this was on Bryce, and I thought she nailed it. Her character's evolution and the transitions and and the various, things her character goes through. I thought she got it all. And if it wasn't for her, I'm not sure it would have stuck together. Because I would argue the movie trailers lead you in one direction, and thankfully the movie itself goes in another one. And I think, at least from what I was thinking would happen. And that was a pleasant surprise to me, because it was even more interesting than I thought it was going to be. And so, but yeah, I thought, this is one of his better movies in my opinion. Yes, it is a little silly at the end, but I expect that from him. He always builds to these crazy crescendos that, just take everything and just blow it up into like a factor of 10. And for me, it worked. And I was enjoying myself a long way. I've always been a big fan of Sam Rockwell, and I thought he was the other MVP of this movie. And this is him, like the last movie we saw with him, See How They Run, he was really dialed back and not really getting to express himself. In this movie, he was full-on Sam Rockwell that I love, where he's got a lot of character, a lot of sass, but there's some depth to him. And he just was perfect in this role, especially considering who he was kind of, supposed to be as well, as which is a layer. There are layers to this movie that are a lot of fun. And so I definitely agree. It's a big screen movie with a lot of the visuals and the soundtrack and all that stuff, and it's worth supporting on the big screen. It looks like it cost a lot to make, I'm going to assume. But I think it's worth the ride, and it's a lot of fun. And if you haven't seen Matthew Vaughn before, it's a crazy introduction into him, and it might make you dive into more of his filmography.
Good. Mm-hmm. Matt?
Well, I thought the story was interesting. I thought that the movie suffered a little bit from being of two minds. I agree with you, Marie, that at the beginning the movie was kind of like taking itself pretty seriously and leading you down a path, and then we went full over the top by the end, which it's not necessarily bad. I just thought it was a little bit it was a pretty dramatic line when that started happening. But overall, I thought the story was interesting enough that it stuck with me. It carried me through the movie, and I thought that most of the twists and turns were pretty interesting and fun along the way. I don't think it's, like you guys have all said, it's not a great movie. It's just an entertaining.
It's a ride.
It's a ride.
It's
yes.
fun.
Yeah.
It's fun.
It is 100% a Matthew Vaughn movie.
Yeah, unashamedly so.
Yeah.
So, and you should see it in theaters because it's got the big crescendo scenes of insanity.
Yeah.
Are definitely part of this.
Yeah.
I would recommend it, and I would recommend you see it in theaters.
Mm-hmm. All right. Getting down to it. How
So
many...
to choose from.
Yeah, I know.
You can see
How-
we ad-libbed this. Here.
How many... I'm just going to go with... How many oil tankers would you give this movie? Oh, gosh. 0 being the worst, because then you have 0 oil tankers and such, and then 5 being the best, because then you have a lot, and that's a lot of chaos and ridiculousness you can cause with 5 oil tankers.
Yes.
So, let's start with Matt.
I'm going to go ahead and give this 3 oil tankers out of 5. Like I said, it kept me engaged, it kept me interested, and a little bit over the top. And like I said, that difference, that transition that happens in the movie, it was a little much for me, so it doesn't get a higher rating. But 3 is decent, and I'll leave it with that.
Good. Tim?
I'm going to land at a 3.1.
Good stuff. Marie?
I'm gonna agree with Matt and go with an even 3.
Whew, we are all in the same boat
Yep.
because I am at a 3 as well.
There you go.
Yeah, I think coming down to it, thinking about it, I think the good outweighs the bad of what I pointed out. And I definitely had a good time. Like, I can definitely walk out saying, hey, I enjoyed myself, and that's always a win. So, yeah.
I like that there was a story within the story, which is always fun and interesting. And I really appreciated the range of acting that some of the characters had to, or some of the actors had to exhibit because their characters required them to have a very broad range with very quick transitions
Yes.
to certain plot lines for this movie, and that was fun to watch.
Yeah.
I have a theory about why it seems like there's almost 2 different movies or whatever, but I'll share it off the air.
Sure.
But if you would like to know,
Or discuss.
social media, and maybe I'll let you know through there.
Indeed. All right. Any last thoughts?
I've got such a man crush on Henry Cavill.
Yeah, he's
I'm
great.
just saying.
He's great.
Although I love Sam Rockwell too. Like
I do too.
I'll eat up Sam, however I get him.
And Cena was fun just for a little bit.
Yeah. And weirdly enough, I was super excited about a movie where he was doing like, physical stuff
Yes.
because I've seen him in other action movies, and I
Yes.
was like, wow, he's a really good action guy. I would like to see more of that. And I asked, and it got delivered, so I'm happy about that.
There you have it. Well, that's going to wrap it up for this episode of Matt and Todd Go to the Movies, where we reviewed and watched the movie Argylle. We gave it an average rating of 3.025 oil tankers out of 5, which is above average. And we think that you should see it and see it in theaters, I think is our overall
Yes.
Yeah, I think we landed on
Opinion.
see it, asterisk, prepare for ridiculousness.
Yeah.
yes.
So
yes.
Bring
So-
snacks. Bring snacks.
Bring
Yeah.
snacks, bring a date. Or
I agree.
go
I
alone.
think snacking helped me through this movie too.
Fair.
Not that it would have been a slog without it, but it was a nice,
No, it was
a nice little treat.
Good.
fun. Get it?
Good. Yes, and I bought the Regal Cinemas reusable cup tonight, guys.
Joining me.
Joining Tim, and in
Value for your dollar.
7 visits, I will have earned the maximum value of the cup, and I will be getting free drinks from then on. So
Hope it lasts long.
that is going to wrap it up for this episode, and we thank you for listening. Please keep doing that and downloading and subscribing, all the good things. Give us thumbs up on social media. Give us good ratings. Give us, because we give you the podcast. And we will see you next time.
Da 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 da
Da-da,
da da da.
da-da-da.